Yeah, no, I didn't do anything with the energy subcommittee. So, okay. So do they need the link too? Okay. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Hey, hey.
I see the announcement, but there's no.
I got it, Dave. I'm on screen.
Yep, I was slow. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
Ron.
So Susie, I got to talk to you sometime offline about the treasury job for the Friends.
You gonna do
I don't know. Talk me out of it.
No, she's not going to talk you out of it.
Yeah, I know, because that gets her out of it. Yes, I understand how this works. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mary Ann asked me today when I went by the library.
Oh, well, I know Brad and I have talked to work some stuff out, so. There's some stuff.
Well, there you go. So I really need to talk to you then.
Yeah.
So at some point I'll reach out to you. I'm traveling on Thursday, so maybe next week.
Okay.
Hey, AJ, I'm looking at your email. It says here's the Zoom link, but there's nothing there.
You're on mute, AJ.
Sorry, I hit enter too quickly, and so I sent another email with the
Oh,
actual
okay.
link.
Because all we had, I'm sorry, because I could have just forwarded the one that had already
No.
popped up.
No
Oh, well.
worries, no worries.
Okay.
So I think Jim is the only one. Let me just make sure he got it.
April. Yeah.
Oh, in April too, right? Yep.
But it's there. I mean, they shouldn't have any issues.
Yeah,
They don't need the link if they go the regular route.
right. Let's see.
So was April's report she was working off of AJ's and I didn't
Yeah.
see the updated one? There's no update.
Right. So there was a little confusion. See, she sent a version that in Pages. So I don't know if everybody could, I was able to review that one.
Okay,
And then I think she tried to send a new one in case people couldn't access that in
okay,
PDF, but that was mistakenly, I
okay.
think, the previous
right.
template that I had written. But now I
Ah.
think she's resent it just in the last few minutes.
She
So
did.
Okay.
Yep,
yeah.
it's there.
Life, really.
Well, April must use, is she using an Apple product, Macintosh?
Yeah.
That's
She
Yeah,
why.
that's
must
what
be.
it
Yeah,
is.
Pages, yeah.
Because my phone's an iPhone, so my phone had no problem reading it, but my PC.
Right.
Same.
Hi, Jim. Sorry about the late start. And
Oh, sorry.
hopefully-
What happened to the link on the calendar? So,
it's up now. It was
yeah, I know, and I
it
just
wasn't
got it.
there earlier. Yeah, yeah.
I got it up at 6:31, Jim. I'm sorry.
Well, that accounts for why it's 6:24. It didn't. No problem.
Hi, April. Okay, so I think this is everybody for tonight.
Bob won't be
Because
here.
Bob is out, right?
Yeah, Bob is out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I'll call the Finance Committee to order at 6:35. And we'll start with, I think there are a couple of items that weren't in the posted agenda that I'll just mention now, and then we'll go to our first item. So we're going to review minutes from September 5th. We're going to review and hopefully approve April's text for the upcoming town newsletter.
In this order?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll do a little follow-up on our budget request letter and forms. And then we'll prep for Town's meeting on September 28th, and then any other announcements or business. That's what I have. Anybody else have any topics they need to? Oh, we have an expense report that if we have time, we should take a look at that as well. So I'll put that at the end. Okay, anything else that folks needed to cover tonight?
I think that's it.
Okay. So first up, this is a great first set of minutes, George.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, actually, before we start, I have 4 edits. So we can just
Okay.
get out of the way real quick. Susie reached out to me. The very second line, I had Tuesday down, and it's a Thursday. It was Thursday.
Right.
And then if you go to 4, Kathy Novik's title, or actually
Mhm.
Tracy Novik. Well, it was right, Tracy Novik. So I had
Okay, so it's
Tracy's
the
name
name.
spelled wrong.
Mhm.
I fixed that. And then she's the field director of Mass Association of School Committees. So
Correct. Yes.
I replaced what I had there.
Oh,
I
Desi.
thought she was Desi. I just assumed she was Desi, which is a bad thing to do. And then if we go down to number 6, the school track, it's at Amherst Regional Public Schools, not Amherst Public Regional Schools. So ARPS, and then 138,000 should be 136. So those are
Okay.
changes I've already made. I went
Great.
back and looked at the meeting, and indeed, Susie was right. Not that I doubted you, Susie.
All right, terrific. Did anyone else have questions or suggestions for the minutes? I don't have any.
No.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended by George.
No second?
Great.
Aye.
George,
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, eye.
Mosher, aye.
Salvador, I.
And Stein, aye.
Great. All right. Becky, can you make me or give me sharing privileges? I'm going to pull up the draft article for the newsletter. Oops. Okay. Make this bigger.
That's it.
All right. Okay. So just to
Did you blow
remind
that?
everybody,
Yeah,
sorry, zoom it up a little more.
Yes.
yes, please.
That better?
That's good.
That's good.
Okay. All right. So just for context here, this is, we've done this at least once before, although I think that was 2 years ago, not last year, which is write an article from the FinCom for our town's newsletter called Our Town. And it's meant to be kind of a recap of the prior year's budget process. Becky.
I was just going to say that the first sentence, it was our first indoor annual town meeting because we'd already had
That's right.
special
Right,
town
special
meetings.
towns.
Special town
Right.
meetings, yeah.
Good point.
First indoor annual town meeting. Okay. All right, so that's the context here. I had a couple of suggestions, really more just kind of nothing substantive, just language things. So just to go through those, I was going to suggest getting rid of this comma here after September. I think that's
Mhm.
grammatically correct. And then I was going to suggest for this sentence, over the year, we met with each department head instead of we were able to meet. Just felt like it might read a little bit better. And then next sentence, we also worked with the department. I guess that should be plural, right? With the departments to look at any.
Mhm.
All right.
And shouldn't capital be cap with an A, not capital like?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. All right,
Mhm.
good catch. All right.
There's another
Next sentence.
capital, yeah, there's another capital.
Yeah, the very last.
Yep. Okay. Uh, Next suggestion I had was down here. Did anybody else have anything up until this point?
Yeah, I had a few things.
Okay.
Why don't we
Uh,
finish yours and then I'm probably.
Okay, and then we'll
back to the
we'll come
top.
back around. Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds good. All right, so on this bullet, I thought it might read better to say raises for town employees amounted to an increase of $36,000.
Mhm.
Just as a readability thing. Okay, let's see. Did I have anything else? Oh, I think this should be permanent, right? Free cash. Sorry, I didn't
Mhm.
type it in here.
Yeah.
Wait. Now I'm having trouble spelling it. Okay. Non-perm.
Firmament.
Yeah, N, not M. There you go.
All right. I think that's it I had. George, did you want to?
Yeah, well, a general comment. Well,
Mhm.
first of all, April, nice work. I mean, wow.
Yes.
There's a lot of work
Really
here.
appreciate it,
Mhm.
April.
Yeah. So I noticed you rounding everything to thousands. I think anybody who reads this is going to realize that everything's rounded to thousands. Just wondering why you didn't just use the actual numbers. Is it because you were using the report for some of it and the report's all rounded, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's okay, the fact that we're not using actuals. I mean, I have no problem with it, but
I think actuals are distracting because
Mhm.
it's not about the $100. It's about the
Right.
thousands.
Mhm.
and we don't want to
Mhm.
replace all the comma 000s with Ks, right?
I think we could do that.
Good.
That's our language.
That would be the more appropriate way to do it.
So
Because these
just to,
numbers,
just to give an example, so this would be like 309K.
Yeah.
Okay.
right. If you did a control H,
Mhm.
maybe it doesn't work in the app you're using.
Yeah.
But what I would
Uh,
do is I would replace all comma 000s with a K.
Right. Yeah.
So if you can do that at some point, I would suggest doing that.
Yeah.
The only one I wouldn't do it on is the first statement. It's the total budget of 7,208,000.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the
Yeah.
rest can go to K.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, why don't we just put the actual number there? 7,207,000, whatever it is.
So right, because this is
I can
not
get it
the
for you. I've got it. It's 2
this
million.
is not these.
208,000.
878.
Yep. And that's
20
after,
Sorry, it's 7208. What was it?
7,207, 878.
and Becky, that's after the amendment on the town floor for the school line, right?
No. So I took it right up here. You're right. I have it. That's the wrong number.
That's not the
About
budget. that we passed.
2,000. Yeah, it's about $2,000 more.
$2,000 less.
Less.
Actually, I think this might be the right number. I'd have to go back and look.
No, it's straight off the budget sheet though, George. That we sent out ahead of town meeting.
Right, this number is? Yeah, okay, then, right, so I see your point. So your point is then it went down.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't have the
All right.
update, the most up to date because I wasn't there.
So wouldn't it be 2,000 less?
Yeah, two,
But it's
Yeah.
not an even 2,000. It's
It's
like
not?
Oh,
Oh, okay.
No.
either
oh,
two,
God.
some crazy thing.
Let's say approximately.
Yeah, just
Well,
leave that
it's-
number, because if anybody saw their old budget, that's what it is.
well, all right, that's fine. It's just not
No.
accurate. I mean, well, $2,000, if you, in that case, I would argue make it 2,705K.
Well, I'll tell you what, can we, do we think as a follow-up to the meeting, we can actually pull the exact number?
I have the number somewhere, because
Yeah, no, I do too, yeah.
I made a correction to it, I just can't find it because.
And actually, we should probably find out if this will still go in time. I don't know what Janice Gray's schedule is.
Oh, it's gonna be the first one in.
Yeah,
Susie.
just leave it. That looks great.
That's a
All right.
record.
Yeah, because you've got till October 1st.
Oh
Terrific.
my God.
All right, that looks great. That looks
All
really
right, for
beautiful.
now, we'll
All
leave
right,
that.
so maybe I can double check tomorrow and see what the real number is and bounce it off you, Becky. You can confirm it and we can send it to Susie.
Okay, and I'll look for it now while you guys are talking.
Oh, okay, so maybe we'll get
All
like,
right.
so the first thing that there's one, I went back and double checked all the numbers because they were right at my fingertips. And the on the bulleted items, item number 3,
Mm.
the WPAT sector betterment, that's 20,000. It should be 20,000, not 70.
Oh, right. Right.
Right,
Okay.
I see,
It should
right.
be 20K. That's
Right.
right.
It should be 20K. Yes, it should be 20K. And then minor points, very minor, but the Shutesbury increase, wherever that is, elementary school increase, we say
Yeah,
it's 5 point, it should be 5.9, not 5.8. Because it was 5.88.
What about with
Okay.
the $2,000 down?
Oh, okay, leave it. I don't know.
right.
You're right, I don't know. Yeah, it's fine. And then on the APR, the ARPS, we have 5.9. It was really 6 because it was 599. Does it matter?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah,
Um,
but that number of 6% has been talked about a lot,
Mhm.
so it might just confuse people, so.
Yeah,
Let
that's
me
a good
find that,
point.
that's here, right?
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense to change that to 6%.
Yeah, and then more importantly, if we go down to where we work with the so that the regional school budget bullet, about 2 or 3 bullets down,
Mhm.
we talk about so the third from the bottom sentence is aside for the year in order that none of the 4 towns have an unreasonably
Comparison.
high increase. All right, put
In order
aside for the year in order that none of the towns would have an.
So
think it-
that.
I would
instead
say
Yeah, I think it
unusually
should be
instead of
so that.
unreasonably.
How about if this could read
Actually, I
so
think
that,
I think that's fine. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote this. I'm taking it back.
but does this read better so that instead of in
Yeah,
order
in
that?
order.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's probably what confused me. And the sentence above it, compromise was found with the modified statutory method. I think for most people, many people understand, but not necessarily really understand what those 3 words combined mean. And I wonder if we should say compromise was found in the regional school budget assessment. The established regional school budget assessment was put aside. You know what I mean? I understand that label. We all understand that label. But I'm not sure the average reader is going to know what that really means.
Could we just put the word assessment between statutory and method?
We could. I
Assessment
just,
method.
again, what does that mean to people? To me, the real message is we put aside the agreed upon method that we've been using year over year. That's the
Oh, I
message.
guess, Right, I guess it could read compromise was found with the assessment methodology being put aside for the year, so that,
Yeah,
if
something
you,
like
if
that.
you
And
wanted
basi-
to, if you wanted to make it more kind of general and,
Or you could leave out methodology and call it agreement, although it's really not clear to me. that it's
Right,
an
to me, that's
agreement.
why I like the word
Mhm.
established. A compromise was found, which required us to use an assessment method other than the established method.
How about, wait a minute, compromise?
I mean, if you don't agree with me, we don't have to go through this exercise.
Yeah, I think to simplify that makes a lot of sense.
Put it in lay terms,
Compromise was found by not using,
the established method for assessing the budget to the towns.
yes.
Yeah.
The
Was found-
the already established or the,
Something like that.
so, sorry, can you say that one more time? Compromise was found,
No.
where is it?
By
Compromise
not using.
was found by not using
the established,
the established, I would say a modified statutory assessment method.
Oh, I actually, no, well, we can put that in brackets. So why don't we say compromise was found by not using the established
method, and then do
budget
modified.
assessment method, and then in brackets, yeah. So we can still identify it for the people who do understand it and know it.
Okay, it was found by not using the established assessment methodology, brackets, modified statutory.
Yeah,
Is that?
yeah, I think that's good.
uh,
It's really, I think a modified statutory is fine, general term.
Compromise was found by not using the established assessment method, modified statutory, for the
Yeah, I
year,
think-
so that none of them, okay.
People understand it better that way. All right,
Okay.
I'm almost done. I got two more, and I wonder what I'm saying here. So we make a comment about talking to Z about if we can find where that is. And I didn't have this, so I couldn't
The
have this.
bottom of that paragraph.
Right
Yeah,
here,
to begin, yeah, so Herman, to begin to bring our town's concern forward, the very last part, the 4 towns in the region meet together in September, October. I'd like to put wording in there where we tell everybody we're meeting earlier than we typically
Okay.
meet. I think
Yeah,
it's
advocate, how about to advocate for having the 4 towns begin
Begin,
the budget negotiation process earlier in the year?
Yeah,
yeah,
perfect.
in September rather than December.
And then I have one last thing, and then I'll be done.
December. Does that look right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then the second to the last button, the 70,000 from free cash was used for non-permanent school costs. I think we should put something in there about the operating budget. So, and you do at the end, but it's not as clear. $70,000 from free cash was used, was $70,000 from free cash was used to balance the budget or used to operating budget. I think it's important what you're saying is we use $70,000 of cash on the operating budget. So that's not clear, even though the last part kind of alludes to it. It doesn't really say
Operating.
it.
So $70,000 from free cash was used to fund the
Mhm.
operating budget.
Yeah.
Specifically
Right, yeah.
Right.
for non-permanent school costs.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's a little more clear as to why we're saying that.
And I don't think we need this last part, right, into the operating budget.
Right.
Okay. $70,000 from free was used to fund the operating budget specifically for non-permanent.
I have the
Okay.
correct number.
Hey,
Right.
Hold on. I want to write it down because I want to have it.
So the amount that it was reduced by was $2,064. So the new number is $7,205,814.
All right.
Just as an aside, Becky, you're gonna want that in the annual report that you're gonna publish
It
next
is.
year, right?
It's in the annual report.
Did I
What's
say?
And it's in the
Tom's-
minutes, it's in the minutes of the meeting.
Right, but it's in the
Annual.
annual report, the finance committee's annual report is gonna be a modified
the-
version of the annual report we presented at town meeting. So you're gonna want me to modify that to decrease expenses, revenue by $2,064.
And adjust all your charts.
Yeah, I can do it. That's not a problem. But do you agree? Is that what you want to put in the annual report, or do you want to keep it with what we presented?
I think it's
I
what you
think-
presented. What you presented.
'Cause I've already done it, by the way. That's what I was looking for earlier, but. Okay, so just leave, so you'll just use the one you have from the town meeting. If you change your mind, let me know.
Okay.
All right. Just updating these.
Yeah, so in the minutes of the annual town meeting, under Article 2, it references an amendment. And maybe that's what you could do somehow and say that there was an amendment to the budget, just so people are clear that, if they find the original documents and it's not the same as the final.
So it can say in that second sentence, at the meeting, the voters passed an amended budget for FY25 totaling blah.
Right.
Voters passed an amended budget.
Yeah.
Does this increase of is it 309 or is it 307?
Must be 307.
It's no,
We're probably being nitpicky, right?
And that total budget figure starts the highlights in the first.
well, it's whatever it was, you want to subtract $2,000 from it.
Yeah. Just subtract 2,000. Make it 307.
Yes. And I wouldn't worry about the 4.5. I think it's close.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anybody else have, okay, so Jim, I know you've had your hand up for a while, so
Yeah,
go ahead.
well, yes, I think it's a great a piece, very detailed, very comprehensive, but are the folks at our town newsletter willing to publish something that is this big, this long, this detailed?
They did the last time.
And it was this, with this much detail and length, I'm just, usually they try to condense things into very small sort of bite-sized pieces, which of course this article is not. I'm just,
Well, she prints what she receives, Jim.
okay, well, if they're
Yeah.
willing to do it, that's fine. I mean, I think it's great.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if they come back to us and say, shorten it, we can have a conversation.
Yeah,
about
Yeah, I
it.
doubt they will. I doubt Janice will ask you to do that.
okay, well, let's hope so.
Kathy?
Just a really minor little thing in the highlights, bulleted items, just align the third one with the rest of the bullets, the residential
glad you-
taxes.
This one that starts
Residential-
residential taxes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go. There you go.
All right, great.
Alrighty.
All right. So
So just want to ask
April-
April about that. April, was that exercise excruciating or extremely
No,
fun?
no, it was actually really interesting. I just,
great.
sort of shut my mind and pulled it out and no. It was
Like
trying to
that.
find an order and how to,
Yeah.
talking about the region, the school and the regional school was the
Yeah.
challenging part,
Yes.
Yeah, I find it really informative when I do these projects to go over the information in my own mind to organize it. So I
Mhm.
appreciate you got to do that and you did a good job.
yes,
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it, April.
Yeah.
And it
That's a
really
great-
does, it prepares you for the new year, because now you got it all this fresh in your mind.
Mhm.
I know.
Yeah.
I can test me on it.
Well, all of
I'm
us now.
I'm still learning, but I'm really impressed for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great article.
Well, I
Good work.
also was able to use the framework that AJ had used before, so this wasn't coming out of total,
In there.
you know, that framework from the previous one was very helpful to work around. But yeah, it was fun in a strange sort of way. So should we sign it with love from the
Yeah.
finance committee?
Right. So in terms of next steps, April, I'll send you just this version that I've been editing on the fly. You may have been doing it yourself on your end, but if it's helpful, I'll send you this one, and then
Send me
if
that
you
one.
want to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
clean it up and I'll send it off to Janice.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, so next up on the agenda is any follow-ups on the budget request forms and letters that are going to be going out to department heads. I know, Susie, you have at least one issue that you wanted to discuss with the committee as you were working on this. I don't know if you've had others come up, but you want to share that one?
I need another hint.
Okay, this was the fire department, and as soon as
yeah.
you mentioned it, yeah, about whether to include the training and call wages, which is a little bit in this kind of gray area, right? Because it's a salary line, which we generally don't put in these operating budget forms. We sort of distinguish between kind of salary, which are often determined by, the COLA calculations. And so we don't even bother putting those on the operating budget forms versus other non-salary or non-personnel expenses. But I think this one was one that I think you might have had an instinct that should be on the budget form. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, because that number for the training wages, he came back to us and we did it in 2 sections to boost it. But I just wanted to sort of see the historical piece of that and let people let Lenny think about it too. I don't want it to be a point of attack because it hasn't been on the budget before. And I don't know if it falls under wages in terms of what the amount per hour will be changing. But I just feel like if we have an upfront discussion about it, it might help clarify it and strengthen it as a line.
Becky?
I'm sorry, I'm unclear. Did you say the training and call wages are not in the budget?
No, they're not on the budget request form. They've never been on the budget request form.
Right.
Because we don't put in the salary.
Personnel.
Because it could be
Right.
just called salaries and not go in there. And, I was sort of, this is the same kind of education thing that happens when you start taking something apart to look at it. So we have the assistant treasurer. I guess that'd be called a contract. I don't know. So I just didn't know where it fell.
Are you the one who's going to be emailing these forms to everyone?
Yeah.
So could you put in the body of your email, when you send the fire department one, could you also, dear Lenny, please also include details or information pertaining to the call lines in, what's the other one, training line?
We have those details. We have what was spent. We have what was proposed. Those things stay the same. And I was wondering if I'm the liaison to fire, so I could have a discussion with him. Doesn't have to be on the form. I could say, here's some information we were thinking about looking at. what do you think? Or we could put it on there and then the explanation part say, this is a new item to look at from previous budgets.
But you're
My,
only,
my,
sorry.
sorry, go ahead, Becky.
So you're only asking him in reference to whether they're staying within budget. You're not talking about pay rates or anything. You're just focusing in on the use of those two different lines.
Right. And I think he's got some other things to talk to us about that, because I think in the end, he may want to say, I underspent the call wages and I had to spend more on training. So I'm looking at that. I mean, it's just a conversation, and there's no conversation point right now. That's not where we had a conversation in the last few years, except
Yes,
for
but
when
you
it,
did with Lenny. Lenny
what?
brought it forward.
yeah, when
Yeah.
he's watching his budget. So this could just
But
begin
it's-
the conversation earlier.
So my instinct is that, but there might be a rationale that I'm not clear on, but that the reason we typically don't see or even put personnel lines on those budget forms that we send to department heads is because they're sort of not discretionary items, right? They're
Not in control of the department.
determined. They're not in control of the department head. Their changes from one year to the next are determined by COLA calculations that are, a function of the work of the personnel board and are approved by, select board. And so that's the reason we leave those off. But I think in the case of the fire department, right, this really is kind of like, this is not like the fire chief's salary line, right? This is an expense that he has to manage, and has actually, right, there've been a couple of times where he's needed to come to us to talk about how he sort of distributes funds across these lines. So my instinct is that we ought to include those kinds of items on our budget request forms, because they're within the control of the department head, and so we want them to be thinking about those lines and managing them in the context of the rest of his or her operating budget. So that's my rationale for saying I think we should include them.
I
don't know
agree.
if other folks have a strong opinion about this one.
I definitely agree. I think that's wise.
Becky, do you feel like that makes sense?
And this is not God's law. This is just a form that we drafted.
Right.
And
Right.
I think it's really important to see it as a discussion tool. So, I want to go into that with this feeling. We may not have done it in the past because we didn't see it. That jumped out at me this time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you can tee it up for Lenny since you're the liaison, you can talk to him like, you may notice there's a new line on the form, and this is why, we thought it'd be useful for discussion purposes to hear your thoughts about it. Okay, so let's do that. I feel like there's an analogous issue with the police department as well, isn't there? Like, is it the overtime wages or no? No.
They're not set separately at all.
Okay, got it. Okay,
For police.
so then I'm wrong about that.
It's
Yeah.
only highway and it's the snow removal overtime.
Right. Okay, which is something we see on the highway budget. So yeah. Okay, so forget what I just said about the police department. All right, so let's do that. Were there any other follow-up issues as you began to work on this and think about this, Susie, that you wanted to discuss
No,
with
I
us?
kind of went down a rabbit hole. I'm coming back up air, and I will have them ready by Friday.
Yeah.
Did you have
And so I print them and put them in their boxes. I email them, and I think that's about it.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
Susie, just a
think-
reminder, please include me in the emails because
Yep.
I need them too.
Yep.
Thank you.
You want
Great.
me to put a printed copy of each one in your box, or that's too Luddite for you?
That's fine, but I'll still need the digital ones.
Yeah,
So,
okay,
and I don't have a scanner, so.
okay.
Susie, when you do the email version for folks,
Mhm.
can you just maybe add a sentence in there that just makes it clear that the instruction is for them to email the completed form back to Becky?
Okay, I'll put that as a PS
Once or
on.
twice there was, I think, some confusion and people sent it to the FinCom inbox instead of Becky, and so I just want to make sure that
Okay, and
that
that
kind
should
of
probably be
confusion
on the budget request form itself, not the
yeah,
letter.
you're right.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, because that's what they're going to be looking at,
It-
like on
it's-
their screen.
the
And yeah.
People are gonna, yeah, you need it on both or they're not gonna get it.
Okay,
Mm,
Yeah,
Well, don't read.
the more places you put it, the more likely it's gonna happen.
mhm,
Great. All right. Thanks, Susie.
Yep.
I think we're in good shape, timing wise. Okay, so I think we're ready for our next item, which is to prep for the Four Towns meeting. I sent around, I'm sorry to have sent that email invitation late. I didn't realize it was, I don't check the FinCom inbox as often as I should, and it was sitting in there. I was like wondering why we hadn't gotten an invite, and then I called Nibby and I was informed that it was sent to the Shutesbury FinCom. So here's the deal. I regretfully, I hate to say this, but I have a conflict on September 28th and will not be able to be there in person. I'm pretty sure they're going to be broadcasting it, but I don't think the Zoom functionality is going to be used for people to actually participate and speak in the meeting. I think it's really going to be just for people to kind of passively view it. Unfortunately, I do have this conflict I can't get out of, and I'm going to be out of town. I won't be able to watch it, but I can't be there in person. Which is disappointing because it's important, and I wish this wasn't the case, but it's just something I can't get out of. So the only update I have is I have to watch the recording of the school committee's meeting from, I think it was September 10th. There, I saw in the superintendent's update, which was posted, her slides were posted on the agenda. It indicated that they're going to present 4 budget scenarios. I don't know what those scenarios are, or if there was any discussion. I will watch that recording in the next day or so, and I'll share if there's any important information. I'll share it, but that's the limit of what I was able to figure out from just the handouts for their meeting, is that they're gonna review. Actually, there was another thing. They're gonna review. Let me just read it exactly. Budget process set for September 28th, 9 a.m. at the middle school library. The team is currently running scenarios for presentation, each highlighting a different deficit. We hope that the upcoming Four Towns meeting will guide us in determining the most effective scenario to pursue in our process moving forward. So I'm curious about what that means.
You said
And
highlighting. I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
just want to get the minutes right. Highlighting for
yeah,
separate.
highlighting a different deficit. That's what is written in her.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Just for those of you that are that kind of follow along on these regional school committee meetings, one of the interesting things that Dr. G is doing is, at her, you know, her superintendent update that she gives at every meeting, she has a prepared slide deck, which wasn't the case previously, which is just a useful thing to look at. It's posted on board docs. If you ever want to see like what the superintendent is kind of communicating to the full committee. Anyway, so that's where I got that from. So I think this is, I'm not sure that there's a lot for us to do in preparation for this first 4 towns. I mean, I think, right, it's clear that this is going to be the first of a series of meetings that the 4 towns are going to have throughout the fall. I think our job is to really kind of listen and absorb these 4 scenarios. I am curious. I'm not sure if they're going to be looking for a lot of feedback in that meeting. To the extent that, like, if they are, you know, and they haven't shared those scenarios in advance of the meeting, you know, it's going to be a little bit tricky for us to sort of like discuss them as a group, what our response to these scenarios are. So, but, you know, so maybe they will post these budget scenarios before the actual meeting. If that's the case, I'll certainly share it with you. Let's see, I don't think we're not going to have a meeting scheduled right before the 28th. So I think the only, like, if there's something really controversial or like really, I think, critical for us to discuss and we have time to post like an emergency meeting before, I guess we could do that. But Becky?
I think I should just post all 3 committees for the 28th for the
Yeah.
meeting date. And
Yes.
so you're
Right.
not worried about that. It's all set. And if there's
Okay.
discussion that needs to happen, you're good.
Okay, so one possibility, we've done this before, I don't know if it's necessary for this first meeting, but we could host a FinCom meeting that starts at 8:30, say, and you know, if there's a little bit of time we feel like we need to discuss, you know, budget related documents that are shared in advance of the meeting. I don't know. Does that feel like it might be useful, or
Yes.
Susie?
I'm feeling like we don't want to encourage people to start taking stands. And
Mhm.
so I feel like that your first sentence, that our job is to listen,
Mhm.
is important, because we don't want anybody to be running down that road. It's only September. And so I would want to show that we're there to listen. And we might see something that inflames us, but it's too soon to
Yeah.
get up in arms.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah,
don't
that's my
want to
instinct too.
encourage that.
Yeah, that's my instinct too. The only thing that I was had in my mind is what if they actually ask directly for feedback in the meeting? I mean, that, you know, but you know, I think it's probably unlikely that they will, right? I mean, I think
Well,
it's
it
the
probably
first few.
will.
You think so?
Yeah.
But we can say we don't have enough information to
Right,
have
it's
that
too soon.
reaction.
Yeah.
And
Right.
encourage people to think that way.
Yeah. And right, and assure them that this is going to be front and center at our next FinCom meeting. We will make sure to have a thorough discussion of that and get them feedback in whatever forum that, you know, they need, whether it's the next 4 towns meeting, or we could even draft feedback and share it with them. George?
Yeah, and let them know we're gonna need time to digest those 4
Yeah.
scenarios that they're gonna share with us. There was something else I wanted to say. Oh boy, if I can only remember what it was. Oh yeah, in regard to your question, should we meet earlier? I think we should, because if there's new information especially because AJ, you've been watching a lot of what's going on. There might be something you want to share with us or something we all receive and we just want to look it over to, for sure our thoughts about it before the meeting. I think would be helpful. I agree with Susie.
Yeah.
We should really bite our tongues. There's no point in getting into deep dives on anything at this point, but you never know. It might be helpful to have that meeting.
Okay. Becky?
I guess the only scenario I think we'd really want to have a conversation about is if we get those 4 scenarios and 2 of them have eliminated the alternative
Yes,
method.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
That's
So
the one
yeah.
reason I think we
That's a
should,
great,
but
Right. And that we're very prepared to, right? I mean, like we've been discussing and talking about this we've got sort of talking points on assessment methods. So I think, yeah, I agree with you. In that scenario, I think we want to, yeah, I think we're able to share feedback about if we see scenarios that eliminate, modified statutory method, as any component of the assessment methodology, then I think we do want to communicate there. There is the challenge, though. I'm not going to be there,
right, you're
so
not there.
I don't think it's going to be super convenient for me to speak via Zoom to a large in-person meeting. I was going to suggest, knowing that I have this conflict, that that's if Susie, you're comfortable kind of sharing the kind of consensus position on assessment method. Again, if it comes up in the context of those scenarios, you know the issues as well as anybody on the committee. That was going to be my suggestion. Susie?
And I don't think we should do it in the context of one of those 4 scenarios. I think we need to do it on the context of the principle. This is a principle of I was going to say hard fought, but that's not the words I want to use. This is a place we've gotten to because it has the recognition of the different income and EQVs, especially after watching Tracy Novick's presentation. That's one of the things. I don't know if she did it particularly for us, but it's
Right.
clearly there.
Yeah.
And it's clearly also the difference in municipal revenue growth. So there are some key factors in how you figure out what matters. And our guardrails and all that are kind of added on top. But I feel just like as a principal, Shutesbury wants this to be a starting point. So it doesn't sort of matter what the 4 scenarios are. We're looking for this to be in there.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually just really quickly just share some talking points that we kind of collectively wrote together back in 2023 when we were negotiating, like preparing for a 4 towns meeting. And I think this is a kind of concise position that reflects how the community views, right? We look at this last paragraph, the Massachusetts created a statutory method as the fairest, most equitable method of allocating assessments for member towns. It has advantages and achieves a reasonable balance of per pupil and wealth-based factors. It's more stable than other models because it's built on this 5-year rolling average. The last time we checked, over 70% of Massachusetts regional districts utilize the statutory method, which is obviously, slightly different than ours, but it's a component of it. And our region arrived at this method over years of collaborative work and multiple working groups dating, it's now over 10 years. So I think, the last time we discussed this, right, like I think there was strong consensus around those being the kind of key points for us to articulate in terms of our position on assessment method. George.
You answered my question. I was curious what we were going to say, but that's it. Thank you.
Will you send that to us, please?
Yes.
I'm going to put that in the minutes too.
Okay. Uh,
AG, one quick
yeah,
question.
Becky.
What we used to do ahead of these meetings and ahead of this one might not be the place to do it, but we would bring the school committee, select board and finance committee. We'd have like a meeting ahead of
A pre-meeting, right?
meeting. I don't know what you guys think about doing that on the 21st is, wait, no. The 24th is the select board meeting this coming Tuesday, right ahead of Saturday. I don't even know if we probably won't even have materials. But I want you guys to be thinking that way in upcoming meetings. And I'd like to know if you think you should communicate with the other committees ahead of this one or not.
So I guess my thinking on that is that's a super useful thing for us to do in those meetings where we know we're going to have to share feedback on a budget model, right, or budget proposal. So I certainly think we should build in that process for future Four Towns meetings.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's essential for this one, just because we're I'm assuming we're not even going to see these budget scenarios until people show up. That's my instinct. Susie?
And in some of those four-town meetings, it's structured to have a break in it where people could caucus. So
Right.
I think they're probably not headed that way yet. But if we think it's getting more specific, we would ask for that to be in the agenda, that we have time to caucus.
Right. There's also a little bit, again, sorry to do this to everybody, but there's a sort of logistics, a practical challenge, which is going to be if we are going to do a pre-meeting, right, it's probably going to be an in-person meeting since you all will be attending the meeting in person at the middle school. I'm not sure how I will, unless one of you Zooms on a laptop. I'm not sure how I'll be able to participate, which doesn't mean that it's not worth doing, but that would be something we'd have to figure out.
They have internet.
How about,
Yeah.
how about scheduling a meeting for Thursday, the 26th?
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah. The only thing, here's my thought about that, George, is that I think we could post a meeting for the 26th. If we don't get anything from the region,
Until
I think we
Friday.
cancel that meeting because I don't think there's anything for us to discuss. But in the event that we do have something to look at and we think it's useful to that Thursday, then if we're posted for that night, then I think
I think 8:30
works.
before the meeting. If we all have to be in Amherst at 8:30, we might have trouble getting ourselves together, and we just wasted half an hour. That could go badly, especially if the doors aren't unlocked until 8:45.
Mhm.
And of course, we're all going to be talking
That's a good
together
point. Yeah,
at the table with no other, other towns walking around and maybe even want to talk to us.
that's a good point. Yeah.
And again, it's
Um,
contingent on whether there's information or not. We don't have to have it.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. So let's scrap the idea of a pre-meeting on Saturday. The question is do we think there's any value to posting a meeting for Thursday, the 26th? Susie?
Couple of things. One, that was the purpose of it was that the purpose to have joint meeting with SB and school committee, or just for us to look over what is on the proposal? And the other thing is that those key points that you're going to send us, we should just send those to the select board and to the school committee. And that's kind of our starting point. And I don't want to get too far down the road on this. So I think it would be adequate just to send those out as our starting points and let the meeting open up.
Okay.
And I guess if the meeting starts to go, Pelham and Leverett and Amherst starts taking strong positions, I think our position is to back that down a little bit, just slow
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe what I'll do is, if you think this makes sense, is I will email the select board and the school committee and basically say, hey, in advance of the Four Towns meeting on the 28th, the FinCom phone would be helpful to share the following talking points related to the assessment methodology in case that becomes a topic that's relevant for the meeting. Thought it'd be useful for you to look at this. And then I'll maybe just add a sentence that says, our understanding is that they're going to share some budget scenarios for us to review. We felt strongly that rather than comment on those scenarios in the meeting, we'll take it up for discussion, something along those lines, just so it makes it clear that the reason I'm sending them these talking points on assessment method is that that's really the only issue where we feel like we should be prepared to provide some feedback if it's relevant. Something like that makes sense. Much less wordy version of that. Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that then. Okay,
So the
all right.
Thursday night is off the table, right?
It sounds like it. Yeah.
No meetings at all.
Yeah. That I don't think for this first Four Towns meeting that we're going to need a pre-meeting.
Yeah.
Certainly would be a good thing for us to keep in mind for future ones, though. And I think your point, Becky, is well taken that we're going to need to coordinate those with the select board and the school committee, where there are sort of important decisions to be, important feedback for us to provide. Okay.
And a number of new members on the school committee.
Yeah.
So education is really important.
Yeah. Okay. One question I have for you all is, do you think there's any value to me touching base with Anna before the Four Towns meeting? And if so, are there any other points other than just kind of summarizing this discussion that we've just had that I ought to share with her?
No, I don't think so, but I think if you're gonna have that conversation with her, ask her if there's anything we should be aware of that's going on.
Yeah,
Isn't,
for sure. Okay. All right. Then I think that is sufficient to prep for that meeting. Again, my apologies for not being there in person. Hopefully,
There will
I'll
be
be able to
others.
make the future ones.
Yeah,
Yes,
well, this is,
exactly. There
I
will
think
be
the
others.
the future ones are gonna be a lot
If I have to
more-
miss one, I feel like this is the one to miss. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think looking at what was it? All right. So why don't I pull up the expense report that Becky shared? I think that was it yesterday or I can't.
Today, I think.
Oh, was it today? So I had a crazy day. I did not get a chance to spend time on this, but we can kind of go through it together right now. All right. So this is our latest expense report. This is through, this was run on when? So today. And I think what I'll do is just do kind of a page by page share on the screen and then see if folks have questions or comments about any line items. I know this is always a little tricky early in the fiscal year. I'm not sure what to be looking for.
Well, there's some things that would stand out.
So legal is still doing okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on with that? Something's.
Don't get
Are there-
excited yet. It's about ready to go downhill, I think.
Great.
Okay.
Nothing big there.
No.
Is this the page with the emergency management on it?
Let's see.
No.
No,
Oh, I thought it was maybe at the bottom.
The
Okay.
end,
fire, next one.
middle.
Oh yeah, all right, it's the next page, okay, yeah. I'm having trouble seeing it, it's a little,
Can you be a little bigger, AJ?
Yeah.
It
Oh, yeah.
helpful.
Okay. All right, so no, this police maintenance, cruiser maintenance line has been a problem in the past, right? Looks like we're okay so far
Mhm.
this year. I'm sure we'll hear more about that when we meet with Kristen.
I think you're gonna be seeing some expenses shortly.
Okay, yeah,
it looks like we overspent the emergency management phone line.
The phone,
yeah, this one here. I
phone
assume
not.
that's just,
Yeah, what's a phone nut?
It's like an astronaut, but different. Okay.
Oh, very good.
I have a feeling their rates went up and they didn't tell us ahead of time.
okay,
Is that a one-time charge?
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's good.
yeah,
It's not gonna
that's-
get worse.
I think we
I
can,
got
we can
that
handle,
feeling.
we can handle the 81. Yeah,
Yeah, I think we're good. Just for Kathy's information, a lot of times, Kathy, when you look at the salary lines,
Mhm.
typically the salary lines will tell you what percentage of the year we're through. I'm not sure there's actually a good example of that on this page. But, oh yeah, the highway superintendent.
superintendent, yeah,
21.64, most salary lines are 21.64. So we're at 21% of the way through the year. Because those lines usually spend right on the budget amount.
Okay,
Because Becky
Thank
knows
you.
what they are when she puts the budget together.
Oh,
So that's
yeah.
how we know. So like any line that's higher than that is spending a little ahead of the pace of time, and any lower is doing better. Kind of a guide that everybody's learned to use.
good, thank you.
all right.
Fire station mitigation still getting put in the right category? Or is that a new exciting expense?
Yeah, real exciting.
there was a carry forward. She had, not all the carry forwards are here.
Ah, okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Hopefully it's more than $9,000.
I hope it's at least 16,
So you got more coming, huh?
a little bit.
Hmm.
We just put it we just put in the LSP just submitted a report that is arguing for us to be returned to a temporary solution, which hopefully they'll accept his argument. That would be helpful. And then we're back to where we were.
And that's the DEP he submits it to? Yeah.
Is this the line, this gravel road upgrade? Is that the line? No, that was a capital item, right? That we did last year to give the highway department some funds to
Correct.
do, so that's
In
not this line
addition to
here.
this,
Yeah,
right. This
okay,
is the
got it.
regular line. He
Yeah, this is the
asked
regular
to
line, okay.
increase it originally, but it's a capital line and he has been spending out of that.
All
They've
right,
been
good, yeah,
on a lot of gravel.
yeah. I think it would be helpful to kind of hear about when we meet with Steve about kind of how that work's going. What he's learned about, how we might be doing this in the future, what kinds of additional upgrades to the roads we might see in the future. All right, so let's get to this page.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the veterans section looks funky.
We're gonna be, that's gonna be our first big problem of the year. We have, we have quite a bit of activity. And we don't have enough in the budget for it.
Interesting. Okay.
And of course, we budgeted to
Yeah.
what they told us, and the next month it all changed.
Yeah.
After
Isn't
we
that
passed
one
the
that,
budget.
is that one of the lines where the treasurer and us are always the treasurer's always trying to be conservative and we always say, hey, you're going way too far overboard. Is that one of those lines?
Well, he has, we get a requested amount from the VA. No,
Right.
he doesn't push as hard there because it's been
Okay.
zero for a number of years.
Okay, yeah,
But when something comes and depending how long it's there, it can be there, for months and months or go a couple of years sometimes. Usually it stops. It's supposed to be the short term before they get, but it can go for a year.
And then the VA reimburses us some of it or no?
They
Yeah.
re
Oop, you froze, Becky.
Oh, made sense. All right.
she had something to say too.
Yeah, she might have to log
Relog
back
it.
in. All right, I'll keep going. And we can let her know if we've got other questions.
Yeah, the last one I had was in regards to the retirement. I don't know where that is.
Right here.
Yeah, it looks like we're done with the retirement. So I'm thinking we might have a $16,000 pickup. I think it's a one-time charge. That's another question for Becky.
Okay. All right, so let's ask her about that. This line, you think
Yeah.
this gets billed once a year? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Jim?
Is the the veterans line, which we were just discussing, is that
Yeah.
is that really sky high because a veteran has appeared out of nowhere and moved into town? Do we know what's going on there?
I think that is one of those lines that's right. That's
You can't predict.
that is determined by a head count, like, yeah, the number of people. So yeah, it's been zero for a number of years,
Yeah,
right? And then,
because we haven't had any veterans, but
right.
like, I guess, do we now have a veteran in town that we didn't have last year or whatever? I don't know. I'm just curious. I thought Becky
Yeah.
might have the
Yeah, I'm
answer
sure
to that.
she'll have something to say about that.
Yeah.
And then, so we want to ask her about that, and then the retirement. Okay.
She's on the screen, but she's muted.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I couldn't, I finally got the icon up to unmute, so I could hear you.
No
but I
problem.
couldn't talk.
Okay. Yeah, so we've got two questions. One was going back to this veterans programs, benefits. So Jim asked, is this an indication that we have a new veteran that has moved into the community? Is
No,
eligible for these services? Okay, so what's
no, okay, so people don't have to move in to become eligible. People living here can become eligible.
Ah,
On occasion, like there was one occasion I recall it, a veteran doctor moved into town and was renting a property and was instantly qualified. So it can happen, but that's not the situation. These are the last few people we've had have all been people living in town whose life situations fluctuate and then
Right.
they're eligible for benefits.
okay?
Oh, okay.
and can we go back to the original question before Becky froze, and that is, will
Yeah.
something be reimbursed?
And that was, do we get some
75%.
reimbursement?
It's a 75% reimbursement. And it goes, when we get it up to 18 months, 2 years later.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's not going to be reflected in the budget.
Yeah.
In the
It'll go
expenses.
into the general fund. It'll,
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. George had another question about the retirement line. And the question was, is this just billed once a year? And if so, does that mean we're picking up $16,000? Will we see any future activity on this line?
it's an annual assessment, I believe.
Okay,
979.
all right. So,
Nice.
so yeah, so we might save 16K.
So we can feel good about that then.
Can turn it
Well-
over to the vets.
Let's keep going. I think that's.
Hmm.
All right.
Accounts.
Yeah, these are all revolving accounts. Okay.
The title of the account is, where under the first full solid line where it says group 1, segment 1, then it's titled. The
Yeah.
account is titled. So you can see. This one is town special revenue.
Green Community Grant, what's that about?
We're closing out the grant that we had from the elementary school.
That was lighting, yeah. Mhm.
Yep,
But none of it was expended? Oh, it's a negative balance. Never mind.
Yeah. Mhm.
we're waiting to receive the money. It's a reimbursable grant. So we submit the invoices and they pay
Got
us.
it. Got it.
I see.
Is that the
Some-
same thing with the state earmark grant?
Yeah.
That's.
Where are the, as we go through these, Becky, where are the expenses related to, I assume they're on here somewhere, related to PFAS?
Hmm.
What are they, Fund 30?
Right here.
There it is.
PFAS
Got it.
contamination.
All right. Running a little behind on that. Good.
Mhm.
I assume that a lot of that is going to get spent though, right?
Well, see, the issue is she put in the new 150
Ah, got it.
that we have, she does it theoretically, but we haven't finished.
Right, so there
Being
was
awarded.
roughly, right,
13 left.
yeah, there was, 13 plus the 4,000 spent, so there was 17 left. Okay,
All right.
and then there's the library. Can we just scroll back to that for a second?
Yeah.
Looks like there's more than $1,000 worth of work been done out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great news. Actually, some of the money we spent is in that 130 too, I see. 130 as well.
Yeah. This is like, these are the grant funds that we spent, right?
Yeah, that's probably where all the spending's gonna happen in the beginning.
Mhm. Right. Right, because this is largely going to be used, our allocated, the funds that the town allocated are probably going to be used for those categories of expenses that were not reimbursable by the grant, right?
Yeah, the capital stabilization, free cash.
Right.
And we won't borrow, I assume we won't borrow until all those things have been,
Mhm.
Constructed.
yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
Quite a project.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm hopeful that, the debt's gonna come below what what was presented at town meeting 2 years ago.
So to that point, Becky, do things sound like they're moving along okay? No big uh-ohs on the library?
The construction,
Yeah.
so far,
Great.
I did notice that the OPEB number is at 941. We're approaching $1 million on OPEB.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we'd think about popping it to 1 million because things change at that point.
Yeah, Becky, I assume this reflects what was in our budget for FY 25, or do you think it's possible that this is too soon? Actually, I know the answer to this
I
question.
saw some transfers at the end of our budget for like 100 and something, 160, so.
Actually, I'm gonna go to the OPEB analysis spreadsheet because I think I
think
had
we're
930,
already
so
over.
that does not reflect another 50,000.
she hasn't updated that yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
so right, so we're close, we're very close. We're at 991 plus
I
whatever
think we're
interest.
gonna be over
Yeah.
1 million.
Oh, because the interest comes in too, right? That's what.
Right,
makes it
right,
zero.
and these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
I remember when it
amazing.
was 0.
Hooray for us.
Mhm. Mhm.
That took a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, it's an analysis we're definitely gonna have to do.
Yeah, when is, what's the schedule that, for the actuarial reports that we get? Is it every couple of years?
3 years.
3 years, okay. Kathy?
Can you tell me what that is?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Uh,
Kathy.
25
to
words
do-
or less?
Who wants to do the honors?
Other post-employment benefits.
Go, Susie.
Well, that's good enough. We've been putting away $50,000 once we got on a steady course to help pay for other post-employment benefits for former employees. Yeah.
Kathy, I would liken it to corporations having to fund their pensions, their future
Okay.
obligations. We're funding future obligations to retirees because we pay a portion of their health insurance mostly. So
Okay.
it's the same concept.
Okay.
And we
It is
have
mostly for,
sorry, go ahead, Becky.
so it's mostly for health insurance, basically. But
Okay.
it's similar to the concept for retirement, but it's to make sure towns can afford to pay the promised medical benefits when people retire.
Yeah, paying the current value of the future benefits. Having it
And-
saved. That
Right, so this number that we've been discussing is the amount of funds that we've accumulated in our fund by funding this trust every year. And that's one of the elements of our operating budget is, for a while now, we've been contributing 50K to that trust every year. Yeah. And the only other thing to mention about that is that there is an accounting firm that does an actuarial study every 3 years that is kind of an important tool for us to make decisions about sort of planning, how do we want to contribute to this in the future?
and actually, there's one other point, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
In our health insurance line in these expenses, a portion of those are paying for health insurance for retired individuals. And at some point in the future, as that number grows and we have to increase that line item, we're going to be able to use the funds in this account to offset some of that. That's really the account where this account is going to come into play. At this point, we pay all the health insurance out of the operating budget, but at some point in the future, we can pay a portion of the health insurance out of this fund and it won't affect the property taxes. Hope we confused you.
No, that was good. I get it.
And I have a question, because it's
Go ahead,
always
Susie.
learning. What does the retirement line in our operating budget, how does that figure into anything? And our operating budget is like 200,000?
270.
Susie, are you asking, so our retirement agency, the FR, the Franklin Regional Retirement Board
Mhm.
is, I think we are already vested. So we pay the assessments that they calculate to maintain their system, but so basically it's like, what if they had gotten to that OPEB limit?
Mhm.
So, so I'm not sure what your question is. What you just are asking,
I
So-
think
how-
she's asking, Becky,
Go
if I
ahead.
may, I think she's asking, are we billed for our actuarial responsibility for our future benefit? Is that what that is? Or are we loading a fund like we're doing with
Okay.
OPEB, but not based on
No.
any calculations?
right, no, they did that part. They've already done made their investments, and they're, as a financial unit, all they do is assess us and all the other towns annually.
And they
And
assess
then
us for our future liability. They
based
assess us
on,
for our liability for the current fiscal year.
for the current fiscal year
Got it.
only.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
OPEB money is only health insurance, and this is the actual retirement dollars?
Yes,
Pension
This
dollars.
is an operating expense, and the other one is in our operating budget, and it goes into the OPEB for the health, which is the post-employment benefit.
right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I think that's it on expense report, and that's it for our agenda. Are there any other topics or any other updates that folks wanted to share with the committee?
I just wanted to ask Becky, how you doing on getting signatures?
Oh, I think I got some,
You got
but
it? Is the letter done?
You didn't get mine on the
Yeah.
open meeting law letter.
But
I
we
can
don't
swing
okay,
need,
by
so
tomorrow.
we don't need everybody's, do we? I thought it was just a majority.
April could still sign.
Just a
Okay.
quorum.
Yes. Yes.
So
yes,
you
yes.
still needed one signature, it sounds like.
Yeah,
I-
well, Bob signed the original, but there was a typo on it. So I give Bob credit for signing, but I think the typo is a pretty big one. I can't remember what it was.
I can swing by tomorrow. And sign, you know.
And I will as well.
All right, it'll be in the FinCom box.
Okay.
And
I have one more thing.
Yep.
I went through that presentation by Tracy Novick, and what helped me was to run us side by side the slide deck and her
Mhm.
talking, because the projection in the meeting, you couldn't read the slides. Well, that was not
Right.
helpful. So I figured that out. It still is a huge load of information for me to really get it. But I found it to be interesting, and I ended up contacting her by email because she says to, if you have a question.
Yeah.
And the question I had is, for the municipal revenue growth, does our rural aid end up raising that factor for us and therefore counting against us when they do the thing? And she looked it up. And she said, oh, no, that doesn't go in that
Doesn't.
factor.
Okay.
So she answered me the same day I sent the question. I didn't have to be a genius to ask the question when she figured out what I was asking. And I think that it'd be good to keep doing a dialogue, because I found the presentation really hard to struggle through until I
Yeah.
got the slides beside each other. And I'd probably have to do it 4 more times to start,
Yeah.
to really
is a-
internalize it. But it
It is
gave me some
there's so
ideas
many-
that we're doing.
Yeah. And there's so many layers, right, to the process. And it's like, okay, once you sort of, okay, understand the foundation budget, but then it's like yet another layer and layer and layer to
Some
get
of
to
those
our
factors-
actual.
But
some
I
of those
think it
factors-
highlights some of the issues that we're talking about very clearly, and I can't
Yeah.
believe that Amherst municipal revenue factor isn't significant.
I
So,
was shocked.
and
That was
that's,
a
Yeah.
shock to me.
yeah, and so that slide, it just leads to more, and also when she did a comparison with Granby, Northampton, blah, 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 none of those are regional schools. It's like, I don't think
Right.
that's the best one. And so she talked about how to go ahead and get another comparison out of there. And I don't know if she'd be willing to do that for me, but I can make a stab at the DLS site and see if I can, or DOR, figure
Right.
that out. But there are points that we can be talking about when we're really in a four-town discussion.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
was concerned about the growth factor because our new growth this year is going to be more than double what we thought it was going to be. I heard this in the assessors board meeting. And also, the state is coming up with more pilot money and we're going to have revenue growth there. So our spending requirements, it sounds like, right, Susie, correct me if I'm wrong, our spending requirements are going to go up. And it's interesting concept to me that I need to, I'm not done with it, so, but I want to fully understand. We've never talked about we need to spend a certain amount, but she was talking about how there's a minimum amount we have to spend. And I never really think about that, but when we've never compared what we're presenting for a budget to what we're required to pay. And we could find ourselves in a position if revenue is going up, that even if we cut our budgets, we have to spend a certain amount.
Right,
You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's
Becky
just
has
never
something.
been in my thinking.
Right. Right. There's this required local contribution, right? That we're responsible for. Yeah.
We're pretty
Thank you.
low compared to it now, but if that grows,
Yeah.
as our growth factor is climbing,
Right. Understood.
then we
Yeah.
could cross a threshold.
Right. Becky?
We used to be double the minimum growth numbers. I know they're getting closer, but I would really look closely at the projections because we've normally been way above them.
Above the other towns in the
Our
region, you're saying?
spending, no,
Oh,
No, I'm saying our spending has
Right,
traditionally
gotcha.
been way above the minimum required contribution
Yes.
in every
Yes.
analysis. So I
Yes.
can't imagine, even with changes in our growth, we did have a massive change in our new growth is once in a decade this year, but I don't think it's gonna be something that will bring us into jeopardy with what we have to spend.
Right.
Right.
And there are some things that are contributing to the growth, that the supply chain is straightening out. People are trying to build, the state's supporting housing building. Things are happening, but it's happening for four towns and probably not that much more in Shutesbury than anywhere else. Because there's all sorts of different growth going on in Amherst. So that's why whatever they present on Saturday, the 28th, I want to slow it down because these things matter and it takes us a while to figure it out.
Also to note that the bulk of the new growth was the work that the electric
National
company
Grid.
did, National Grid did. That was the bulk of our new
That's right.
growth,
Yeah,
and
that
that's
makes
not
sense.
going to happen. Yeah,
well, there might be some at the substation.
that's right.
For
That's
what
a
they're
large.
doing there, but we just don't know to what extent. The other thing, I guess I'm coming out of the blue about the regional school again. One thing I was thinking about was this conversation about whether we should have feedback or not. And I apologize for going back to it, but they're going to present those scenarios and the community is going to be digesting it. And there's going to be a lot of winds blowing down in the valley. So for me, it's like put on my winter coat and just sit back and watch the cold winds blow and see where it goes. Because I think when a lot of people in the community see the extent of those cuts, there's going to be an uproar. I know, we all know, there's tremendous support in Amherst for the school budget at the citizen level.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Okay. Any other updates? Becky,
I'm hopefully gonna, I'm just excited that we have, a candidate for the admin secretary position
Nice.
and for the
Great.
land use clerk. And
Wow.
I've already, Rita's gonna interview, so the person will have a second interview tomorrow. On Saturday, the chairs are interviewing for the land use clerk. So those are just positive things for the town.
It's the assistant
great.
secretary, you said?
Yep.
Admin secretary
Admin, that's the word. Okay.
That's huge.
and
Yes.
as well as the land use clerk. So we've got two interviews happening, one this coming week, by the end of the week. So hopefully by next week.
So hope they're good candidates.
Hi,
Great.
Becky.
Oh, did she hop off?
Oh, good night.
She's ready.
Right.
She's ready to wrap up. All right. We'll take that as our cue. So I'll make a motion to adjourn our meeting. Oh wait,
Okay.
we should just verify our next meeting, right? So
It'd be
It'll be the
October,
October
Tuesday.
1.
October 1.
October 1. Okay, great. All right. So yeah, go ahead, George.
No, you haven't, you can make the motion.
All right, so I'll make a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I'll second that. Arvanitis, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Salvador, I.
And Stein, aye.
Thank
Great.
you.
All right, thanks everyone.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.
Night.
All right.